Alright, here we are for round one. We're playing against Linyu. This hand is pretty slow. It depends on the matchup if this hand is good enough. I don't have any removal spells, but at the same time, we have a ton of removal to draw, so I think I'm going to keep this. We've got our lands, we've got some spells, so it's not ideal, and we could definitely get run over by an aggressive deck, but I don't think we can really mulligan hands with lands and spells. Our opponent moving to their second main phase. Okay, if this is burn, it's a pretty decent. Okay, so we're playing against red deck wins. This is a very good matchup for us, but this is not a good hand for it. All right, so that's a good start. I think I am actually going to play my tapped land first rather than hitting this, um, simply because I still want to be able to play one of these on turn 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. It's a little too slow for me not to cast nothing on turn 2 and nothing on turn 3 if I don't draw another untapped land or another piece of interaction. So I'm going to go ahead and just wait on this. Plus maybe I can hit something that's a little better target. This looks like a Burning Tree Emissary is having trouble paying for it. So we'll see how many of these he's got. This will almost certainly be the target of my Firebolt. I'm hoping we're only getting 4 damage, 4 power this turn. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to hit the Burning Tree with the Firebolt this turn. Alright, a lightning bolt. So this makes me definitely wish I would have firebolted last turn. I think, gonna do the same play. So I'm definitely gonna firebolt this. So again, I'm having a problem with these tap lands a little bit, where if I don't hold up if I hold up this bolt, I can't play anything next turn unless I draw another piece of removal. But the other issue is I think I'm gonna have to. Oh, this is a tough one. So even if I play one of these, my opponent is probably going to play something to remove it, and then I won't have a blocker. I'm still going to play a tap land. That's a tough call. Hopefully I draw another piece of removal. I definitely got punished there, though, simply because I drew this bolt. Because I could have played a firebolt on this the first turn, and then I would have been able to play a lightning bolt on one of these cards this turn and play a tap land. But that's okay so far. So the issue with playing one of these creatures is they could just play a heel cutter and hit me for 7 or 8 and 7, 8, 9 damage depending on what they play this turn, and that's no good for me. So we'll see what happens here. They do have a third land. That's actually probably good for us, simply because that means they don't have a handful of gas. If we're really lucky, they have a fourth land in there. All right, if this isn't a Goblin Bushwhacker, we're going to be in great shape, and if it is, we're probably going to lose this game. So you guys have probably heard me say this on my other videos. I'm not sure I've ever lost to this deck when they didn't have a Goblin Bushwhacker, but they always have one. Alright, doesn't look like he's got one. So I think I'm going to play Chittering Rats this turn. Yeah, definitely going to play Chittering Rats this turn. Hopefully their last card isn't a heel cutter. If it's not a creature at all, they won't be able to attack with basically anything. It's also a decent chance that it's just a bolt and we're going to get our rats killed. If we're really lucky, it's like a chain lightning. I think it's probably a bushwhacker, kind of the way that they were playing last turn. They were debating about whether or not they wanted to play another one of these, but we'll find out what it is. Yep, it's a bushwhacker. So I'm gonna block the Valley Dasher here. We're not in great shape, but we could definitely, if they miss a creature for one turn, we could easily come back in this game. Simply because, well, yeah, if they miss a creature here, then they're not going to be able to attack really at all. So I think I'm just going to play tap land. I'm going to play this Rager, I think, rather than the Rat. I'd like to draw one more card. I don't think going to 2 is going to make any difference versus 1. The benefit of playing the Rat instead of the Rager is that I'll go to 4 and I'll be at 3. I'll be at 4 instead of 3, but I think the card matters more. We are dead to any creature. which kind of stinks. This should be one of the better matchups for the deck. And we actually drew pretty well, but didn't quite get there. They had a really pretty fast draw. So they attack for 4 on turn 2. Okay. So I think if they miss this turn, if they draw exactly a land this turn, we are going to be in very good shape. But if they draw any creature or burn spell, we're probably dead. Unless it's a Magma Jet, which is a card I don't really like in this deck. Alright, looks like they missed for a little while. So they couldn't kill me that turn, which means this rat is coming out. Chitterin, chitterin. So they couldn't attack that turn, which means that I'm actually gonna attack with my Rager. I know they didn't have anything that turn that mattered, so I'm gonna do this. Get some of this stuff off the board. I'm gonna go ahead and firebolt one of these. Alright, so we need to fade a burn spell for a couple turns. I don't really know what they drew last turn that they wouldn't have played. Okay, it was a land. They should have definitely played that. This is an interesting attack. Give me the freebie block. So I'm gonna Pillar of Flame this cohort, and then I'm gonna play our Thorn. If we can get a Radiant Fountain and gain 2 life, we'll probably basically be unable to lose this game. But they do still have a couple turns here to draw a burn spell, unless I can gain some life. This is a close one. We got lucky. They made a little mistake there too. Alright, that's just a swamp. As long as it's just a creature, it's not a big deal. Even if it's a heel cutter, I can bolt it. Jackal Familiar doesn't do anything. I don't think I'm even going to kill that. Well, I might as well firebolt it, I think. It's actually not the easiest decision here, because I might want to save this firebolt for their face. And it's unlikely that this Jackal Familiar will be able to attack or block for the rest of the game. Gurmag Angler is a pretty decent draw. Be able to play that next turn. So their deck is full of really bad cards in this situation, but whenever you cast a creature spell, deals 1 damage to target player. Interesting. Okay. So we do have our opponent on a pretty fast clock here at this point. So I can either pick up this cave or a Bloodfell Caves. I think I'm actually going to pick up the Bloodfell Caves. I should probably tap it for mana first. Next turn I'll be able to gain 1 more life, so that could be important going forward. Gonna make sure I keep that firebolt in the graveyard. Alright. So again, we're dead to a burn spell, although they probably don't quite have as much room for burn spells in their deck since they have this card. We do have lethal next turn. This is their last chance to draw out of it. Hopefully we see ourselves getting pinged for 1 with this. Looks like a Fire Blast if they're tapping their mana like that. That's interesting. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and attack. Wonder if they just had a creature that they didn't want to play. So I'm actually going to lead off with this Firebolt, and then if they don't counter it, I'll be able to kill them at instant speed, even if they were trying to sandbag a Fire Blast or something. They won't be able to do anything about it. Let's go ahead and cast the Firebolt. Alright, and then I can cast my Lightning Bolt. Alright, cool. So we got a little bit lucky there. They had a really good draw to start, and then they just kind of fizzled out, which kind of happens with this red deck. Sometimes they drew 1 too many lands, and they drew this card too late. I don't think this card is particularly good in the deck, simply because you play all your creatures before you get to 3 mana. So it's just kind of a dead card a lot of the time. So We don't have a ton of cards in the sideboard for this matchup. Siphon Life is something to consider. They're not really a burn deck, but they do have burn spells, and this can get us out of some sticky situations. Blightning is not great, simply because they could easily have no cards in hand by the time I even get to 3 mana. Electricity only kills Goblin Bushwhacker pretty much. This deck used to run Rakdos Shred Freak, but now that it has Burning Tree Emissary, it doesn't anymore, so I don't usually bring in Electricity against them. And Duress is another one that's interesting. It's kind of in the same vein as Blightning, so we could take a Fire Blast or a high damage burn spell or something that's important out of their hand with Duress, but we also might not be able to do that. So I think I'm going to bring in the Siphon Life, and that's going to be my only change. And then I'm going to take out a Thorn. The Thorn was pretty good there, but it's a little too easy for this deck to take it away from us. Like, it's tough for us to play this onto an empty board, and they can just bolt it and get in or whatever. Thermal Alchemist is another interesting one to take out, but it does block, so I think I'll leave it in. And then there's some consideration to taking out some of these Night's Whispers, and I think I'll take out one Night's Whisper for one Duress. I don't think, no, let's go, I'll put a Blightning in. I don't really care about Duress, and I want to use my early turns for dealing with their creatures. Lightning, though, on turn 3 could usually still probably take something out of their hand. I'm not sure. This is kind of a tough choice. I don't necessarily want to take 2 damage, though, so I'm not sure. You guys can let me know what you guys think. Sometimes I kind of like having a wide variety in my deck, so like I got one of these, and one of these, simply because I don't really want to draw 2 of any of these, but drawing 1 is pretty good, so having only 1 copy isn't that bad, because they definitely have diminishing returns. Like the second Thorn is pretty bad. Like drawing 2 Thorns is pretty bad. Drawing 2 Blightnings is pretty bad. Definitely don't need to draw 2 Siphon Life, so I'm going to go with this. So one thing I didn't really talk about in the deck building, ooh, this is a tough one. These cards are both great in the matchup, but I don't have any red sources. I think I'm going to have to... Oh, our opponent mulliganed. I think I have to mulligan this as well. I'm actually going to keep this even though we only have 1 land, because I've got all this interaction. I'm going to put anything that's not a land to the bottom, I think. Yeah, definitely putting that to the bottom. So one thing I didn't really talk about in the deck building is the difference between our different red burn spells, our 1 mana burn spells. All right. And I kind of have a wide variety simply because different things deal with different decks better. So Firebolt is a really good one against these kinds of decks because all the burn spells kill their creatures, but you can get a second use out of Firebolt. Lightning Bolt is good against kind of like the Flicker decks, and Lightning Bolt's just kind of the strongest one just because instant speed, and that can be important. And then Flame Slash is really good against Affinity, so you need a card like that sometimes against them. I'm going to Firebolt one of these. I don't think he's going to have a second copy of any of these things for me to get with Echoing Decay, because I think he would have played them both here. I'm going to go ahead and hit to the Conscripts. It's pretty much the same either way. They're almost identical creatures. I was trying to think if there's a reason he would have played one over the other, like playing one first. Alright, I got bolted in the face. So this is something that I see a lot out of Red Deck Wins players. Our opponent is not particularly close to killing us, so they probably shouldn't be lightning bolting our face. It's not like they're not gonna be tight on mana this game, I don't think. Like they're down to 3 cards already, and the reason to keep this is what if I play a 2/2 that blocks their 2/2. Suddenly I've gained probably more than that much life. That's interesting. I wonder if they misclicked that. They should have, obviously they should have kicked that. Alright, I got a Radiant Fountain here. That's a great draw. I'm just going to go ahead and Flame Slash this cohort at this point. This kind of makes me think they might have another Bushwhacker or something that they were going to play next turn. So I could really blow them out with Echoing Decay if that's the case. Is this another bolt? Yeah, I mean, when I play this Gurmag Angler, they could have double bolted it. I don't know. It is better against like my Blightning and stuff if I draw that, but I think I am just gonna Echoing Decay this guy. I want to get cards in my graveyard for my Gurmag Angler. I've got another removal spell here. Thorn is a pretty bad draw. One of the worst draws in the deck at this point. We can cast almost everything in our deck, and that's one card we can't cast. Alright, so I'm going to play the Beetleback Chief here. It's almost as much power as the Angler. It blocks go wide strategies better. And I don't want my Thorn to get bolted and then have him play a haste creature and take the Monarch from me. I'm not worried about getting burned out at this point. Our opponent can't really do that much. Okay, they're playing Conscripts. 2 Conscripts. Oh, if only I had this Echoing Decay. Alright, let's go ahead and I'm going to get in with my Beetleback Chief. And then maybe I shouldn't have attacked and then I could just leave back my Thorn, but I'm actually going to just cycle this Barrenmore, I think. I'm actually going to play the Thorn and pick up the Radiant Fountain. I should have probably just kept this guy back. I kind of thought he would trade again, like he did last time. I'm perfectly willing to chump block with these if I can't orchestrate a trade with my Goblin tokens. I don't think they're going to be able to kill one of my creatures plus play a haste guy unless they play Fire Blast. And if they do something like that, I'll just be able to take the Monarch back with Beetleback Chief. It's not a big deal if they are only able to get one trigger off of it. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Monarch token, at the beginning of your end step you draw a card, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, its controller becomes the Monarch. So if he deals combat damage to me, he'll become the Monarch. See what my opponent's got here. Burning Tree Emissary doesn't do anything. If he burns my Thorn with something, so like imagine he still had these bolts, he could use some of these. All right, so he's got the Mud Brawler. He's probably gonna attack with everything in an attempt to take my Monarch from me. So I have a couple options here. So I can actually just kill this one, double block here, and then I'll be able to bolt this Burning Tree Emissary and take the Monarch back. But I'm actually just gonna single block. I'm not very concerned about it. I think I'm actually gonna kill the Brawler rather than one of these guys. They can't attack if he doesn't draw something. So, all right, let's just go ahead and kill like all their guys. Kill that guy. Play Radiant Fountain, gain some more life. Gonna play this Gurmag Angler and leave up Bolt. So this game is more typical of what happens. They're usually just not as close as that last one was. I'm gonna go ahead and just attack with this Beetleback Chief. Again, I'm just not really concerned about them being able to take my Monarch at this point. I don't think that they are going to be able to do anything about it, and I just want to get the game over with while I'm so far ahead. I'm going to actually save this Bolt for a Heel Cutter in case they have one. Alright, they didn't cast any creatures that turn, which makes me think that they don't have any. I'm going to leave just the Thorn back. Then I'll play this Rat. They didn't have any good plays last turn, so this Rat will mean that they won't have a good play next turn most likely either. So let's see what they were holding on to. I kind of figure it's 2 burn spells or 1 burn spell. So I was kind of talking about our opponent playing those bolts earlier. It doesn't really look like it would have mattered. It's not like they would have had really great opportunities to use them, but it's possible since, yeah, they've been holding that third land, like they could have maybe bolted a couple of my guys and gotten in after I played the Monarch token. Yeah, I don't need to bolt their face or anything like that. So I'm going to attack with everything, I think. Maybe I'll leave the Thorn back. Yeah, I'll just leave the... No, I'm not leaving anything back. Let's attack with everything. I got a Beetleback Chief to block next turn, so Just attack with all my guys. I am representing lethal. And I do have this firebolt in my graveyard, so um, they know about that. We just bolt them. So pretty easy game two. They mulliganed, we mulliganed. We drew fairly well. I mean, I did hit some lands after keeping a one land hand with a lot of interaction, but when these decks rely so heavily on creatures, and we've got all these answers to creatures, it just we outclass them pretty quickly on the later turns of the game. So that was round one. Let's move on to round number two.